The city never sleeps, but Jack had become a ghost within it. Wrapped in a tattered hoodie, his face lost in the shadow of his hood, he drifted through the streets, unseen, unnoticed. His mother was gone. The last tether to whatever humanity remained in him had snapped. And so, he let himself fade. Days turned to nights, nights into weeks, until time no longer mattered. He drank to forget, to drown out the voice in his head that still whispered her lullabies. Jack didn't seek trouble. Not anymore. He wasn't the man he used to be. Or so he thought. Until that night. A dark alley. The sound of a struggle. A muffled scream. He was sitting on the damp pavement, head bowed, lost in his haze, when it happened. The shuffle of feet, the crack of knuckles meeting flesh, and then, a cry. A woman's cry. Jack barely moved, barely cared, until something inside him, some dormant part buried beneath grief and whiskey, snapped awake. He turned his head, gaze piercing through the darkness. 3 men. 1 woman. A car idling nearby. A forced abduction. A familiar sight in a city like this, where power dictated who lived and who disappeared. Jack could have ignored it. He should have ignored it. But he didn't. Like a phantom, he moved. Fast, silent, lethal. The first man never saw him coming, Jack's arm locked around his throat, cutting off his air, dragging him into the shadows. The second barely had time to turn before a sharp strike to the temple sent him crumbling to the ground. The third fumbled for a weapon, but Jack was faster. The sickening crunch of bones breaking filled the alley as the attacker collapsed in agony. The woman, shaking, stared at him wide-eyed. Then, just as quickly as he had appeared, Jack vanished. Or so he thought. The morning after, the headline screamed, "Mystery Vigilante saves prominent journalist's daughter from abduction." Jack's blood ran cold as he stared at the newspaper discarded on the sidewalk. A grainy security camera still, his silhouette, the only trace of him left behind, plastered across the front page. The city was talking. The media wanted answers. Who was the shadow that emerged from the depths of the underworld to save the girl? Was he a hero? A ghost? Or something far more dangerous? Jack clenched his fists. This wasn't good. He had spent years perfecting the art of vanishing. But now, eyes were turning toward him again. And in those shadows, among the curious and the grateful, lurked those who had not forgotten his name.
I am Lena Whitmore. Cameras love me, and I love them. Since I was a child, I've watched people watch me, some with admiration, some with envy, and others with pure disgust. But no matter what, they always watched. That night was no different. As I stepped out of the nightclub, the flashing lights and eager voices of the paparazzi greeted me like an old lover. I smiled, tilting my phone in my hand as I walked toward my car. Lena, tell us about that night. Who was that mystery man? How did he save you? I kept my smile intact, offering them nothing but a playful glance. I could have fed them some dramatic story, given them exactly what they wanted, but the truth was, I hadn't stopped thinking about that night since it happened. The man in the black hood emerging from the shadows. The moment I felt like I was drowning, only for him to pull me out with terrifying ease. Jack Harlow, or as the world whispered about him, the Wandering Shadow. I didn't know a thing about him, but something inside me wanted to, craved to. As if that night, he hadn't just pulled me back to life, he'd pulled me into something else entirely. In the days that followed, I made sure his name never left the conversation. The press went wild, hungry for details. Reporters dug into his past, speculated about his existence. Even my father fixated on it. This man is dangerous, Lena. Stop romanticizing him like some kind of hero. I didn't care, because I wanted to see Jack again. And then, he found me. That night, I was at home, tucked away from the chaos of the city, lost in my own little world. I had just lit a cigarette, leaning against my open window when I felt it, a presence. A stillness so deep it pressed against my skin. I turned, and there he was, Jack stood in the shadows of my apartment, his gaze sharp, his presence suffocating. My heart slammed against my ribs, not in fear, but in something far more dangerous. Even in the dim light, his eyes burned cold. "I came to warn you," he said, voice low and edged with steel. "Stop saying my name." Did he really think he could silence me? I laughed, tilting my head. I liked losing control. And Jack? Jack was the kind of man who could make me lose it completely. And what if I don't, Jack? He stepped closer. His eyes locked onto mine. He was angry. But beneath that anger, something else smoldered. A pull. Something neither of us should have wanted, but somehow we did. And that night, in the tension of our defiance, something ignited. The city outside blurred into insignificance as the air between us grew electric. We were stepping into something reckless, something inevitable. I didn't know who Jack was to me, but after that night, I knew one thing for sure. I had just become a problem for him. And Jack Harlow didn't like problems. But he was going to have to deal with me. Because I am Lena Whitmore. And the cameras? They always love me. I can't get him out of my head. The way he moved in the shadows, the way his hands felt on my skin, the way he disappeared like a ghost after that night. I've never met anyone like him. Dangerous, intense, and completely untamed. I wake up tangled in silk sheets, the city lights still flickering through my window. My phone is buzzing with messages, but none of them matter. My mind is elsewhere. On him. On Jack. I slide out of bed, wrapping myself in a robe as I walk over to the window. Down below, the streets of Manhattan are alive with paparazzi, tourists, and people who thrive on the chaos of fame. People like me. Or at least the person I used to be before Jack. I grab my phone and open my messages. My mother, Olivia Monroe, the most ruthless journalist in the industry, has been prying. She knows something is up. My father, Richard Monroe, is no different. They've built their empire on uncovering secrets, and now they're trying to uncover mine. Mom, Lena, call me back. We need to talk. Dad, stay away from him. I roll my eyes. They think they can control me, but they don't know me at all. They don't understand the rush, the thrill of being around him. Jack isn't just some guy. I feel like he's something else entirely. Something the world doesn't understand. And that makes me want him even more. Later that night, I find myself walking the same streets where I first met him. The alleyways are darker than I remember, colder too. I pull my coat tighter around me, my heels clicking softly against the pavement. You shouldn't be here. The voice sends a shiver down my spine. I turn, and there he is, standing in the shadows, his hood up, those piercing green eyes locked onto mine. I was looking for you, I admit, trying to sound casual. Jack steps closer, his presence overwhelming. You need to stop talking about me. I smirk. Oh, come on. You saved my life. The world deserves to know about its hero. His jaw tightens. I'm not a hero. I tilt my head, studying him. Then what are you? Jack exhales sharply, stepping so close I can feel the warmth of his breath. A ghost. My heart pounds. There's something about him, something raw, something real. He's not like the men I usually meet. He's not looking for attention. He's looking for escape. I can't stop, I whisper. I don't want to. Jack's expression darkens, but there's something else in his eyes now. Something dangerous. Something hungry. Then you leave me no choice. Before I can react, he grips my wrist and pulls me into the darkness. I couldn't sleep that night. My fingers traced the faint bruises on my wrists, a reminder of his grip. Not violent, not cruel, just firm. Controlling. Like he was holding on to something that might slip through his fingers. I turned in bed, the silk sheets pooling around me. My phone lit up with yet another news notification. Jack's name wasn't mentioned, not yet, but the reports about the mysterious savior were gaining traction. I knew it was only a matter of time. I bit my lip. Was I really doing this? Was I really protecting him? The heat from last night still lingered on my skin. Jack had left before dawn, slipping out the way he came. No notes, no words. just an imprint of his presence still tangled in my sheets. I should have been mad, but instead I found myself craving more. A sharp knock on my door made me jolt. "Lena, open up. We need to talk." My mother's voice, stern, cold. I took a deep breath and opened the door. She stood there, holding a manila folder against her chest. The look in her eyes sent a chill down my spine. "What is it?" She stepped inside, shutting the door behind her. "I know what you've been doing." I swallowed hard. "I don't know what you're talking about." She exhaled sharply, tossing the folder onto my bed. It fell open, revealing photos, grainy, taken from a distance, but unmistakable. Jack, me, together. A blurred silhouette of us in the alley, another from outside my apartment. "Jesus, Mom, are you having me followed?" "I'm protecting you," she corrected, her voice edged with frustration. "Do you have any idea who he is? What he's done?" I looked at the photos again. Jack's face, partially hidden in shadows, yet those piercing green eyes still cut through the darkness. "He saved me," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Mom's jaw tightened. "And now he's going to destroy you." I clenched my fists. "You don't know him. Neither do you." Silence stretched between us. Then she sighed, rubbing her temples. "Lena, listen to me. If the media gets hold of this, if the wrong people find out about him, he won't just disappear. He'll be hunted. And they'll use you to get to him." My stomach twisted. "What do you mean?" "He's already drawing too much attention. And I can't let you go down with him." So I made a call. My pulse spiked. "What did you do?" Her gaze softened, but there was no warmth in it. "I set up a way for him to disappear. For good. A safe passage out of here, out of the country, with enough money to start over. No more running. No more hiding." My breath caught in my throat. "And if he refuses?" She hesitated. "Then it won't be my hands he'll have to worry about." I stared at her, my mind racing. Jack wouldn't run. Not like this. But if he stayed, would I be the reason he got caught? I didn't have an answer. But I knew one thing, I needed to find him before they did. I should have known better. I should have listened to the warning signs in my head, the silent alarms screaming that this man was nothing but trouble. But then again, I was never good at listening. Jack was a shadow, slipping in and out of my life like a ghost. I never knew when he'd show up, never knew when he'd disappear. But every time he did, it left a mark on me, like bruises under the skin, invisible but painfully there. That night, I found him waiting for me. Not in some dark alley, not in the shadows of my apartment, but in the backseat of my car. A simple black hoodie covering his face, green eyes glowing in the dim city lights. I didn't scream. I didn't panic. I just stared at him, heart pounding in my chest. "You need to stop." His voice was rough, like sandpaper scraping against stone. Talking about me. Mentioning me. Bringing attention to me. I crossed my arms, masking the way my pulse was racing. "And if I don't?" He leaned forward, just enough for the scent of smoke and something old, like faded leather, to hit me. "Then I disappear. And you never see me again." That shouldn't have mattered. But it did. I swallowed hard. Maybe I don't want to stop. His eyes narrowed. Why? I didn't have an answer. Not one that made sense. Because deep down, I knew it wasn't just the thrill of the mystery, the danger that clung to him like a second skin. It was him. The way he moved, the way he spoke, the way he made the world around him seem like it didn't exist. The space between us evaporated in a second. Maybe it was reckless. Maybe it was inevitable. But when his hand found my wrist, rough fingers grazing against my skin, a spark shot through me so violently it stole the breath from my lungs. My lips parted, a sharp inhale, and then his mouth was on mine. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't sweet. It was raw, demanding, the kind of kiss that burned like gasoline to an open flame. My hands tangled in his hoodie, pulling him closer, and for the first time since meeting him, Jack let go. Of control. Of restraint. of whatever it was that kept him locked away behind those haunted green eyes. We shouldn't have, but we did. And when I woke up the next morning, tangled in sheets that smelled like him, I knew I was in too deep. Too late to stop. Too late to turn back. And outside, the city was already whispering his name.
Jack may be here, maybe right next to you.